So Tucker Carlson has been named the 2025 Anti-Semite of the Year for simply doing what? Stating the obvious. That's what he's been named the Anti-Semite of the Year for. He's not an anti-Semite. We reacted to that clip yesterday where he said, it's actually goes against my religion to be anti-Semitic in a legitimate sense, right? In a way of saying, if he were to... Who are we talking about here? I think it's all directed at Tucker Carlson, and I think that's why they named him the award winner this year. I think that's why Lindsey Graham is attacking him right now, and I think that's why a lot of money's being put up to try and paint him as something he is not, just for critiquing Israel. The day has finally come. StopAntisemitism has named their 2025 pick for the awardee of the Anti-Semite of the Year award. Now, it's not Miss Rachel. I thought it was going to be Miss Rachel for a long period of time because this Stop Anti-Semitism group is run by some random woman. Like, I don't know if she is a mother, but she's of the age of a mother. And I think the Zionists are really fearful of anti-Zionism becoming a very moderate political position. And how do you do that? You do that by winning over mothers, winning over young girls in America. That's how you do it. That's kind of like the last, because who should hypothetically be more scared of, Middle Eastern Muslim terrorists more than anyone else in America? You'd think that like mothers and young women would probably fit that category. That's who they're going to try to fearmonger the most, and is probably actually the easiest to fearmonger. So you have someone like Miss Rachel that starts saying, well, it's actually bad that kids are getting blown up left and right in Gaza. And then they started to attack her and call her an anti-Semite, and she just doubled, tripled, quadrupled down in her messaging. I really did think they were going to give it to Miss Rachel, this prominent young woman, or I guess she also may be a mother. I'm not sure, but she does like a kid show on YouTube with 4 kids. It's like kids content, right? And she had the audacity to bring a young Palestinian child onto the show that they produce. And that's kind of what sparks the whole thing off. But no, Tucker Carlson has been named Anti-Semite of the Year this year for 2025. And while this definitely, the moment I'm going to show you right now, the video clip I'm going to show you, this definitely was not the first domino to fall where we saw Tucker push back authoritatively against the grain. But this definitely was a big moment this year as the U.S. was ramping up escalation against Iran. And, we knew that potential U.S. strikes on Iran were being discussed. And this moment really broke the minds of a lot of Zionists because it simply showed the world that actually, no, it's not anti-Semitic to say that you oppose starting what could very quickly become a nuclear conflict over Iran because you don't like their Shia theocracy, because they've nationalized their oil, they've nationalized their banks, and they are not a pawn of Israel. They're the only major power in the region who really, in a very substantive manner, stands up against Israel at a time when Egypt is signing $37 billion gas deals with Israel, and Turkey allows a ridiculous amount of Azerbaijani oil to flow through their country to Israel each and every year. And the Saudis are like, well, maybe we'll join the Abraham Accords, but maybe not. We're kind of undecided, And the UAE obviously joined the Abraham Accords. And, well, Pakistan, I mean, substantively, they're good, but they're so far away from the equation that they don't do anything right now, really. I mean, they used to. There used to be a time in which Pakistani, they shot Israeli fighter jets out of the sky. So the times have changed. Iran is the main power standing against Israel in the region, as we all know. And this was a very big moment this year for Tucker Carlson. So here you go.
Now describing, in a very defensive way, I will say, is foreign influence over our politics.
No.
And you began, and it's so transparently obvious to everybody. I don't know why you would be embarrassed of it. You've said that you are sincerely for Israel. I believe you. I don't think you have some weird agenda. You seem to be sincere.
By the way, Tucker, it's a very weird thing. The obsession with Israel. When we're talking about foreign countries,
it's hardly an obsession.
You're not talking about Chinese. You're not talking about Japanese. You're not talking about the Brits. You're not talking about the French. The question, what about the Jews? What about the Jews?
None of those countries are trying to drag us into endless wars, right?
Oh,
like
I'm an anti-Semite now. Senator,
you're asking the questions, Tucker. You're asking, why are the Jews controlling our foreign policy?
Senator,
that's what you just asked.
Hardly saying that, and I have.
That is exactly what you just said.
Well, actually, I can speak for myself and tell you what I am saying.
Good.
On behalf not simply of myself, but of my many Jewish friends who would have the same questions, which is to what extent, and it's interesting you're trying to derail my questions by calling me an anti-Semite, which you are.
I did not.
Of course you are. And rather than be honorable enough to say it right to my face, you are in a sleazy feline way implying it or just asking questions about the Jews. I'm not asking questions about the Jews. There's nothing to do with Jews or Judaism. It has to do with the foreign government.
It has to do with foreign governments that are controlling our foreign policy decisions. And Tucker is not, he wasn't wrong when he said that. Obviously, I mean, we saw what happened. The U.S. did intervene. The U.S. did airstrike Iran. But according to John Kiriakou, which make of this what you will, I think John Kiriakou, out of all the, ex-spooks that go out on YouTube and do these interviews left and right, I think John Kiriakou probably, the guy is probably the most trustworthy out of all of them. Again, make of that what you will, but John Kiriakou was literally arrested by the Obama administration and he spent time in prison for exposing the Bush administration's torture program. And still to this day, he does not have a pardon. Still to this day, he does not have a pension for his years and years and years of work within the intelligence community. But this is what he has to say about how the U.S. was essentially pressured into joining that war in Iran.
The reason, though, I'm told, that Donald Trump decided to bomb Iran was that the Israelis said for the first time, if you don't bomb Iran to take out these deep bunkers, we're going to use nuclear weapons. And they had never threatened that before. And so Trump said, bombing Iran might actually save us from the start of World War III if it keeps the Israelis from using nuclear weapons.
So according to your source, the Israelis told the President of the United States that if he did not use the United States military power to bomb the nuclear facilities in Iran, Israel, acting on its own, would use nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
I'll just say for the record that you don't appease a hostile foreign actor like Israel when they threaten something like that. You do not appease. You go on the offensive against them, you attack them, and you try to cripple them from any which way, right? You don't appease them and say, okay, well, we'll bend the knee and we'll strike Iran now. That's not what you do. All right. But it is interesting, given that Tucker was called anti-Semitic for simply stating that Israel is dragging the United States. This is not being done under the auspices of, oh my God, this is going to help America's broader geopolitical standing so much. No, this is being done because we're being forced into this in effect. I don't know how much I actually believe this because, to be honest with all of you, I do think that this is the strategic aim of everyone in the CIA still today. I think this is the aim of everyone in the State Department. I think this is the aim of everyone in the Pentagon, for the most part, to get involved in some sort of long-standing war with Iran. I mean, it's always been the goal. Everyone knows. Wesley Clark, he was the one that exposed this, right? He said, here are the list of the countries, and Iran is the only one that's still standing with a sovereign government. So when I see these stories come out and people are like, oh, JD Vance actually doesn't want war with Iran, and this is just something out of their control. Trump actually doesn't want war with Iran. This is something that's just out of his control. I call bullshit. I really do. There are, a million ways that you could pressure the Israeli regime and you could cripple them, you could weaken them, you could destabilize them, you could undercut them to say, oh, if you want to threaten nukes, we're going to do this. And none of that was done. It was just bending of the knee. And yes, we're going to strike Iran. But, maybe Trump was obviously probably not willing to do those things. So he looked at this situation as an either or. Nukes or we strike. Okay, well, that's still threatening and dragging the U.S. into war. So Tucker Carlson has been named the 2025 Anti-Semite of the Year for for simply doing what? Stating the obvious. That's what he's been named the anti-Semite of the year for. He's not an anti-Semite. We reacted to that clip yesterday where he said, it actually goes against my religion to be anti-Semitic in a legitimate sense, right? In a way of saying, if he were to say, well, this group of people, this entire group of the people from this country, or this entire group of people from this ethnicity or this race or this religion are inferior, that goes against Christian values, right? But anti-Semitism has taken on this new phrase, and you have to ask the question, who is behind this? Well, it's a group called StopAntisemitism. This is the video that they published as they announced that Tucker Carlson had won the 2025 Anti-Semite of the Year award. Let's take a brief look at it. Longtime media personality, now reinvented independent journalist, Carlson uses his platform of millions to normalize anti-Semitism, they say.
Ukraine, as you may have heard, is led by a man called Zelensky, sweaty and rat-like, a persecutor of Christians, a friend of BlackRock.
Those things are all objectively true. I mean, a lot of photos that Zelensky is pictured in, he is sweaty. Not the best looking guy, we'll say. And what did they say? He's best friends with BlackRock. Well, BlackRock and Ukraine are doing a fair amount of business right now, and it's not benefiting the Ukrainian people, that's for sure.
Jesus shows up and he starts talking about the people in power. And I can just sort of picture the scene in a lamplit room with a bunch of guys sitting around eating hummus, thinking about what do we do? And there's always one guy with the bright idea, and I can just hear him say, I've got an idea, why don't we just kill him?
Well, Christian Zionists.
Putting in the Charlie Kirk segment is an interesting, very interesting choice, right? As they're saying it's anti-Semitic to, anti-Semitic to talk about silencing truth tellers, essentially, like Charlie Kirk.
It's like, what is that?
Carlson has built a reputation for giving platform to dangerous ideas, allowing guests to spread falsehoods and anti-Semitic narratives.
Ryan, I could just say for myself, I dislike them more than anybody.
The main challenge to that, a big challenge.
Such as infamous Jew hater Nick Fuentes. Yeah, Nick Fuentes, the guy who went on Piers Morgan to say that Israel has the same exact politics that he has, except they have it for Jewish supremacism in Israel, and he wants it for America. That guy is he's so anti-Israel that he says they have my same exact politics just for their people in their country. Nick Fuentes, who says that we can't question the Charlie Kirk story. We can't question it. We're conspiracy theorists. We need to be locked in an insane asylum if we question Charlie Kirk. Nick Fuentes, who 2 days after Charlie Kirk was unalived, he said we need mass censorship now, as he had the largest audience he ever had on his show. Nick Fuentes, who is championing the cause to launch a regime change war in Venezuela. And on countless episodes of his show, he said that regime change in Venezuela would actually be good for America when everyone knows that the puppet they want to install in Venezuela is a staunch Zionist who has an official agreement with the Likud party and wrote a letter to Netanyahu asking Israel to invade Venezuela. Okay.
Challenge to that is organized Jewry in America.
For over 2 years, Israel has murdered tens of thousands of children.
He's obsessed with Israel and repeats blatant lies about the Jewish state and its people. Isn't it funny? It's like when someone says, oh, Israel is committing genocide, they say, oh, that's an attack on the Jewish people, the Jewish state. But then if you say Israel is a supremacist state, then they immediately go into, the panic mode, hypocrite mode, and they start saying, well, actually, no, we have Arab members of the Knesset, and we actually have a lot of Arabs that live here. And, well, actually, we love Arabs. It's like, well, is it the Jewish state, as you sometimes say, or is it the mixed cultural, ethnic, religious state where you have people of all faiths and backgrounds, right? Which one is it?
On purpose.
Tucker Carlson lies about Israel. Okay, well, this is who actually is behind Stop Antisemitism, because you have to ask the question, why are they doing this right now? A lot of people, well, myself, George Galloway, Jimmy Dore, a lot of people, people I respect personally, are talking and saying, how great would it be if Tucker Carlson ran for president? Because, you know, I think this Trump network and all of its weird associates, Peter Thiel, these deep state, big tech, deep state hacks, right? They have this weird, very suspicious line that they want to follow where they say, okay, Donald Trump is president, and then we're going to have JD Vance, and then we're going to have, who's next? Then we're going to have Donald Trump Jr., and then we're going to have this person, and then we're going to have that person. It's like, well, actually, no. The people of America get to decide who we have next. The people of America get to decide who the Republican and Democratic nominees are supposed to be, right? That's how it's supposed to operate. And frankly, I don't think America, Democrats or Republicans, want someone that is going to be pro-Israel. The people you listed are definitively pro-Israel. That's what is being talked about. So this is actually, I think, part of the reason why they're attacking Tucker Carlson so much right now, because there's a real threat. Everyone understands how popular Tucker is.
I want us to take a look at that 990 again. We see the address, 15910 Ventura Boulevard, Unit 700, Encino, California, 91436. And that address is registered to none other than one Adam Milstein. Okay, we got a familiar name
That's
here.
Who funds
You're definitely on the right track.
Stop Antisemitism, the group that gave this award out.
15910 Ventura Boulevard, Unit 700, per Google Street View, looks to be inside this nice-looking modern high-rise. So then I looked up the tenancy records to see that Unit 700 belongs to a Hager Pacific. Well, turns out Hager Pacific is a commercial real estate firm owned by Adam Milstein. Boom. Now everything makes total sense, right? These rabbit holes, sometimes they do lead us somewhere, which is that an advocacy group, Stop Antisemitism, is funded by, it turns out, a mysterious nonprofit that is funded by Israel.
And an Israeli citizen and former IDF soldier, right? The same sorts of powers that be who are trying to pass laws that will literally make it illegal for Americans to simply criticize Israel. Laws that will make it illegal to burn an Israeli flag, right? These are the people who are funding these groups. It's just fundamentally anti-American. This is what the director, the president of the Stop Antisemitism organization has to say about what the goal of Stop Antisemitism is all about. This is Leora Rez talking just last week.
Since that day, we have featured more than 1,000 anti-Semites on our platforms. 1,000. Not theorized about them, not quietly documented them, feature them publicly, clearly, and with evidence. The results speak for themselves. Approximately 400 of these Jew haters have faced real consequences, including firings, suspensions, and expulsions. This is what accountability looks like. This is what action looks like. If you target Jewish students, your actions will not disappear into the darkness. We will shine a light on you that, thanks to Google and SEO, will follow you for the rest of your life. When you look for a job, when you look for a spouse, when you look for a nanny, when you look for anything, our work will always be documented. Again, thanks to Google and SEO. Since that day,
so there you have the leader of Stop Antisemitism, which is coming out and saying, we've documented over 1,000 anti-Semites over the past year. We've exposed them. And our goal is to make people jobless if they criticize Israel. They'll be kicked out of their homes. They rent an apartment. They'll be kicked out. They'll be kicked out of their university. We'll make sure that it follows them their entire life. We'll make sure that, you can't have a spouse, that your family knows about this. I mean, the way they're treating this is like more pressure is applied upon critics of Israel than people who are committing, attempted acts of CSAM. right? Like, this is really the truth. You watch these videos from guys like Gideon or what's that other guy that does them? The big guy with the curly hair, whatever his name is. Anyways, like, you watch these guys that catch these freaks with CSAM on their phones, their computers. They're trying to meet up with kids, and it's like, those people, the police are like letting them off the hook. Fortunately, people like Gideon are trying to expose this, but actual pressure is only really being applied on people who are critical of Israel. Like, that's the main focus of the government and those that are working in coordination with the government and in coordination with big tech, as she mentions Google here. That's who they're trying to actually attack and create this digital record of like, oh, you're a hateful person, something to that effect, right? But the truth of the matter is actually much different. It turns out that this Stop Antisemitism group, as you could probably imagine, actually has documented many cases of alleged anti-Semitism. Turns out that wasn't actually the case. People got fired from their jobs, kicked out of universities, and now they are suing Stop Antisemitism for defamation, rightfully so. Here's a few examples. At Stop Antisemitism, Lior accused a college hockey player of spray painting swastikas, but police and the rabbi from the Jewish Center debunked the claim. Lior Rez's bogus hate symbol got the student suspended, and then he sued. The judge didn't buy the fake address or the hate crime. She ruled the defamation suit can proceed. Court is expensive, so let's follow the money. Enter Adam Milstein, same guy we were talking about earlier, ex-con convicted for felony tax evasion, who funds name and shame campaigns. His strategy put them on the run. Calling them anti-Semites is too simple. They're anti-Christian. Crazy. Milstein worked closely with Sheldon Adelson to build a network of 180 plus organizations, some of which, like Stop Antisemitism, aren't even incorporated and just hoover up money from fundraising nights Milstein hosts. Stop Antisemitism, run by Rez, is a well-paid cog in Milstein's machine, funded by his Mirona Leadership Foundation. She pocketed over $237,000 between 2021 and 2022, making her the top earner at the charity. Okay, so that's who's behind this. That's what they're doing. They're attacking innocent people who are just critical of Israel, and in some cases, people who did nothing. And yes, I do find it interesting that on the day they release this, what does Lindsey Graham come out and say? If you want to run for president in 2028, you can't be one of these anti-Semites like Tucker Carlson, which he's not, but he's simply anti-Israel. He said this.
I can't imagine a nominee in 2028 being the Republican nominee. If you want to run for president as a Republican in 2028 and you don't show strong support for Israel, I don't think you can win. To our friends on the Democratic side, I hope you'll up your game. I hope you'll realize that Israel's not the problem. The problem for peace is not Israel.
To me, that seems like a direct attack against Tucker Carlson. If you want to run for president in 2028, you need to support Israel. So who are we talking about here other than Tucker? Okay, maybe Marjorie Taylor Greene, because it's been rumored for her as well. She might run. You look at Polymarket, Marjorie Taylor Greene is on that list of potential candidates. But otherwise, it's like Ron DeSantis, staunch Zionist, maybe one of the most staunch Zionist politicians in the entire country. It's J.D. Vance, obviously a pretty staunch Zionist, right? Who else? What other names are we dealing with right now on the Republican side? Vivek Ramaswamy. That guy initially said some things that were like kind of anti-Israel coded, and then immediately he got pushback, and he's like, actually, I love Israel so much. Can't wait to go to Israel. Who are we talking about here? I think it's all directed at Tucker Carlson, and I think that's why they named him the award winner this year. I think that's why Lindsey Graham is attacking him right now, and I think that's why a lot of money's being put up to try and paint him as something he is not, just for critiquing Israel. Before you leave, I want to say thank you for the support, because after 2 years of being banned, we are finally back home on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to our channel and also join as a member on our channel using the link at the top of the description. I rely on the generous support of viewers like yourself to get the truth out to as many people as possible. You can also support the show on Locals or Give Sin Go. The mainstream media and the powers that be are never going to stop attacking us for bringing the truth to as many people as we do. Thank you so much for your support.